Hello, this is Toll. Actually, I thought no one would know the answer to this trust quiz. There was just a bright red lump, but the correct answer appeared right from the first comment, so I was dumbfounded. The background music playing is the theme of the bright red lump, Krauser, the boss from Fatal Fury, known for having the most grandiose music in King of Fighters. He's Burn's younger brother and once had to confront his older brother attacking him with a weapon. In 96, Krauser is actually considered to have rather ambiguous performance. He's strong offensively, but if he only plays defense, there's nothing worse than this kind of trash. Now, let's take a look at Krauser's performance. If the opponent tries to keep you in check with long-reach basic moves, you can immediately punish them with far A. Although its reach isn't very long, its hitbox is excellent, so you can deal with them like this. You can also use it as a finisher with close-range rapid attacks. This is the close-range A you'll use most often when playing Krauser, because among his standing basic moves, this one is the fastest. You need to know how to use a throw technique after hitting A 2 or 3 times to maximize Krauser's performance. I only use this crouching A when I have no other choice, though I really don't want to. That's because close-range A doesn't hit opponents with a low guard. Close-range A has the advantage of being able to combo, but crouching A can't combo at all. The startup is actually 1 frame faster than close range A, but since you can't combo, it's impossible to confirm a hit. You really have to be sure it's hitting and cancel into a move with a pre-input. Because he's so tall, you might expect his far B to be strong, but it's actually not. The hitbox isn't as good as you'd think, so even Terry's short far B can beat it. It's best to give up on trying to use this move for zoning, because there's nothing more disappointing in the world than shelting. Personally, I think Krauser's close B is his best normal. It's a bit slow to start up, but its close range detection is bigger than you might expect. Even though it's a standing normal, it hits low, just like its animation suggests. Also, close B can activate from pretty far away. You can't rapid fire close B, but you can cancel it. So at awkward distances, you can poke low and then land a throw move. Honestly, this is a completely useless crouching B that I can't even recommend using anywhere. Crouching A couldn't be rapid fired either, but at least it could be cancelled. But this move has terrible hitboxes, can't be rapid fired, and can't even be cancelled. Among all of Krauser's basic moves, at least this one has the fastest startup, but even then, it's only as fast as the slow normals of other characters, and all the drawbacks I mentioned earlier completely overshadow the advantage of its slightly faster startup frames. Finally, here's Far C, which boasts a long reach and proves that Heyo Daemon isn't completely normal either. It extends its hitbox to just a little less than half the screen. Thanks to its excellent hitbox and incredible reach, it's great for zoning or applying pressure. If you overuse it, your opponent will catch on and easily counter with a strong normal move. Thank you. The fatal flaw of Far C is that it can't hit opponents with a low crouching stance. The close C is what confused many young players when they first played Krauser. Normally, when you think of close C, you learned and used it as the basic move that serves as the main combo starter for all characters in King of Pop. However, except for large characters, the rest can't hit close C if the opponent is just crouching. If you manage to land a hit, most moves can be cancelled into a combo, right? But when you use it against a crouching opponent, there's a risk of whiffing, so it's honestly a trash basic move. Of course, being able to use a move with this kind of good damage can be seen as an advantage. If you want a combo with a strong basic move, you must use crouching C. It looked like the hitbox was decent, but actually, it's hard to use this for zoning because the hurt box comes out before the hitbox, so it's really best to use it just for rush attacks. Although the startup itself is quite slow, it can be linked after a jump or an attack, so you can deal big damage. I've mentioned the advantages, but crouching C can miss short characters like Lightning or Chim. So, when you have to fight against young Gan, who is a strong point of 96 honestly, Krauser doesn't have much he can do. Far B has short reach, and its hitbox isn't great, but Far D at least has crazy reach. Far C also had fantastic reach, but D is just a bit longer. Even with this insane reach, you have to use your moves, and it gets frustrating when you see opponents who just keep backing away. When you build up damage with Hebok one hit at a time, you'll gain an advantage in the game before you know it. It's so slow on startup that it looks like you're using CD, but actually, this is close D. To give you an idea of how slow it is, it's only 1 frame faster on startup compared to Far D. Because you lift your leg to kick, it looks like an anti-air, but its wide close range detection is too slow to be effective. It's a basic move that's generally possible to use in combos, but honestly, it's so slow that you can only really use it after a jump or an attack. However, as I mentioned, the startup is so slow that unless the jump attack hits really low, it's hard to connect it. So in reality, you can consider the close D as a move that basically doesn't exist, but if you charge and use D, the opponent's stun duration increases, making it easier to follow up. It seems like it would be really amazing, but the crouching D actually isn't that helpful. The overwhelming reach of Far C or D suddenly disappears, and you're left with just an average reach. Even though he's a big guy with a long signboard-like head, you can actually see that his reach is rather short. Home cancel is possible, but it's really slow, and the basic specs are so bad that it's not threatening at all. Since the overall activation of his moves is slow, the opponent can usually see them coming. His ground normals are full of flaws, but his jump A is as good as anyone's. First of all, as you can see, its hitbox is actually quite good. It can beat most anti-airs, and at worst, it can trade thanks to its strong hitbox. Another advantage is that its active frames are quite long. Because of these strengths, you can press it early and still rush in without much risk. Next is Jump B. Honestly, it has similar properties to A, but in terms of reach, it falls short compared to A, so just using A is actually the safer option. Now, the best horizontal zoning normal is Jump C. The hurt box is hidden behind the hitbox, so you could say this move is a perfect balance of offense and defense. The hitbox also extends far behind, so even things that seem impossible to catch from the side can be caught. It's a bit ridiculous, honestly. I want to say it's the best in terms of performance, but actually it has a critical flaw. Including Benabaro, you can't hit characters with even slightly small hurt boxes. You can't hit the small ones, but against the big ones, you can be ruthless. At times like this, it's not even worth envying the price of a fancy meal. If you don't care about attack range or frames, Jump D is the best basic move in Russia. Because it has long reach and excellent hitbox, it's top tier unless it's an air-to-air fight. It can even overpower most anti-air moves one-sidedly. Of course, thanks to its excellent damage, it's always to Krauzer's advantage. Another benefit is that the attack startup is quite fast, and the hitbox is concentrated below, making things like this possible. Of course, hitting like this is only used when you're toying with your opponent, so how can you maximize this advantage? You should use the rising overhead. Usually people use light normals for the rising overhead, but for Krauser, it's a heavy normal, so it's hard for the opponent to just sit and block carelessly. This is Krauzer's special move, the Blitz ball, also known in various ways like bridge ball or meatball. You can choose to shoot it either high or low. The startup delay is a bit long, but the recovery is quite short. So you can put your opponent through a projectile hell like this. Normally, you can't even use the move if a projectile already exists, but Krauser isn't restricted by that system. It's good to hit your opponent with this kind of projectile, but you can also use it to bait their movements. You can intentionally make them jump or roll, and then follow up with a forward-moving move to deal a heavy blow. Great Mama Ha! Are you looking for the amazing mom leg Tomahawk? Honestly, before I looked into it, I thought this could be used as an anti-air move, but it turned out to be an approach move disguised as an anti-air. It doesn't have invincibility or super armor or anything like that. If you got hit by the computer, it was just because the computer played well. Even though it can be cancelled, it doesn't connect into a combo, but it's not a completely useless move. You can use it if you want to cross over projectiles in a cool and aggressive way, but since it has a slow startup, it's pretty hard to time it right. It would feel great if you succeed, but since the regular jumping normals are already so good, there's really no reason to take such a big risk. Instead of the leg Tomahawk, the Kaiser kick I'm showing you now is actually better for getting over projectiles. It starts up a bit faster than the leg Tomahawk and approaches more quickly. However, if you misjudge the distance even a little, you could get punished with a full combo because of the recovery. However, since it moves forward so well, you'll rarely whiff like just now. Ho hung ho hung, this is the famous move, Sobat. Those who first saw the move during the boom may remember it as overpowered, but in '96 it's considered one of the worst, most useless moves, lacking any invincibility. When activated, the hitbox vanishes for 1 frame. I tried to pass through things, but it's impossible. You also can't connect a cancel through Kangri Bongui. The damage itself isn't bad, but since it takes so long for the attack hitbox to come out, it's only occasionally useful for surprise attacks, and even then, it's not very effective. Krauzer's core skill is the lift-up blow. The grab technique itself has an incredibly long reach, so you can grab from an unbelievable distance like this. On top of that, Krauser throws the opponent really far so you can quickly corner your opponent. As I mentioned earlier, it's usually followed up with Golden Veil to confirm the hit. This part isn't as difficult as you might think. Even the neighbor's Poppy could do it with a little practice. Sometimes people say the combos I call easy are hard, but that's just because they haven't practiced. When Krauser faces you in a stamina capture match, he becomes a Kaiser wave machine. Because the projectile's hitbox is incredibly good, even dodging it is pretty difficult. It can easily overpower regular projectiles, and even if the opponent uses a special move of the same level, it just cancels it out. Even similar moves from Ryu turn into regular projectiles in front of the Kaiser wave, and Big 90 Dan Web. At the very least, you have to use a max special move to cancel it out. He's the only one with a max special move level hitbox by himself, but if Krauser also uses it as a max special move, the story changes again. The Kaiser wave has also broken free from the system's restrictions. Even though there's a difference in projectiles, you can use it consecutively. It's usually ineffective against characters like Chin who can easily dodge it, but most people can't dodge it that way. Right now, I wanted to show you how you can keep firing projectiles without stopping. Among regular-sized characters, even Benny Maru, who has a high jump, has a hard time dodging the Kaiser wave. You can dodge it if you get the timing right, but the risk is really high. If you get the timing right, you need to be as fast as lightning to dodge the Kaiser wave. Since a normal jump is very risky, you might have to roll instead. But if Krauser keeps spamming the Kaiser wave and adjusts the projectile speed with light or heavy attacks, usually it becomes hard for the opponent to time their roll. Even if they succeed, another attack might be waiting, and if they miss the timing, they'll have to block. Krauser in a low health flashing state becomes extremely advantageous, and for most characters, it's impossible to jump over it. Since only guarding and rolling are left, Krauser can enjoy the game by himself. I wanted to show how strong Krauser is, but it's disappointing that he ended up being considered trash. For fighting gamers, combos matter, but when skill levels are close, basic moves are key, which is why I focused on Krauser's glitches. Krauser was the character who vanished, leaving just background music. Thanks for watching.